Welcome everyone to another episode of the Global Coin Talk Show. I am your co-host and I'm here with your host and chief editor, Mark Yagalla. And today we have a guest, Crypto Rich, who's also a friend of mine and well-known YouTuber. So we're going to do a little bit of a freestyle today. First, before we start, as Mark reminded me, I have to disclose that none of this is investment advice. We are not investment advisors. Seek your own advice. What else? Investing in cryptos can be dangerous or life-saving, depending on which way you look at it. But we're not investment advisors. That's the main point, and nothing we say here should be construed as investment advice. Okay, very good. We got that. Sure. So, Mark, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. And yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. A little bit tired, working hard. I'm happy to have Rich on with us. Maybe we'll start out with a few words from Rich. Rich, you don't need to give us a long introduction of yourself, but tell us a little bit about what you've been doing, like in the past few weeks in terms of projects.
Right. Okay. Well, first off, Amir, hi, and hi, Mark. Thank you so much for inviting me on. It's a little bit funny for me to be the subject of an interview. So I got into Bitcoin 5 years ago. I didn't know what it was. I bought some, and then about a year and a half ago, I started my channel. I'm a qualified child protection social worker. Bitcoin saved me from child protection social work because I had enough of the stress and the paperwork. And since this year, the beginning of this year, my main source of income has been the channel. And what I focus on are projects that I'm personally interested in and invested in, and also what I consider to be quality ICOs. And I do kind of like deep dive analysis of them. And I have a particular fondness for projects that pay passive income. So
Wow.
That's me.
That's good. Very good. Let's see. Look, I want to give some value to our investors. To our listeners. Tell us a little bit, Rich, about, there's one project in particular, MyNextCoin, that you've been following. I want you to tell us a little bit about why you like that so much and where they're at in terms of progress, and a little bit about Boris, because I know he's a stand-up guy and doing a lot of good stuff.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, MyNextCoin their office is in Kiev. I think they're registered in Hong Kong. And how I found out was in October last year. They had an ICO October last year. And about a month or so later, this kid who lives down the street, I was talking to about cryptocurrencies. He said to me, "You've got to look at this coin. The chart is just going up." He's 14 years old. So I had a look at the coin. Then I read the white paper and I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. And I've been investing in it ever since. And it's very under the radar. So they don't do a lot of marketing or anything. There's only one or two YouTubers in the English speaking world who've covered them. And I have been reaching out to them. And I eventually got an interview with Boris Shulvesky, who's the CEO, in May last year. And they agreed to pay for me to go to Kiev. So I went to Kiev for 2 days, spent the time with them, interviewing them, saw the offices, met with some of the team, saw what they were doing, came back home, bought more MyNextCoin. And now, one, I got to say, there are no guarantees, especially right now with what's happening in the cryptocurrencies and in altcoins in particular. MyNextCoin was at its most. It touched about $70 in November last year. And when all the other altcoins were about, at their all-time highs, it was about $30. Currently, it's underneath $2. I think $1.90 just before.
And what exchanges does it trade on?
It's on Exmo, and it's on Livecoin, and it's on CoinEx or Coin Exchange.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to them. Tell us a little bit about their credit card and why the credit card feature, the crypto credit card. Mark, they have a crypto credit card, but here's the thing, the cool thing, it's not on the Visa rails. It works just like a Visa credit card. However, correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, it basically, the crypto transaction is done behind the scenes, so it's never going to have that threat of Visa saying we're going to shut you down.
That's right. That's right. Now, Boris, his background is in banking, and he's been an advisor to the Ukraine Central Bank. He's also a successful businessman. He's got, run and set up non-blockchain businesses, which a couple of which are still going. And how the MineXPay card will work is, let me say this. So what happens? So you can back it up. You can fund it with Bitcoin, Ethereum, euros, dollars, and MineXcoin. And the cryptos and they go to a fund which MineXcoin have set up. They have a banking license. They convert the crypto to fiat.
Right.
Then that fiat goes to another jurisdiction which issues the Visa card and also the MasterCard. And then that issuer gives me the MineXPay card, which I can use wherever there's a Visa logo. And I found out a few days ago they've announced it's going to be a MasterCard as well. So wherever there's Visa, wherever there's MasterCard, I can go and spend that card. What comes into that card is fiat. What goes out of that card is fiat. So crypto never touches it. The crypto to fiat exchange happens in the back end in another jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that, and because I had a BitPay card, I had a 10x card, stopped in January when Wavecrest lost permission, or their Visa ended the agreement with Wavecrest, and this is the only cryptocurrency card that I know of that's going to be universally available. There are five countries where it's not available: North Korea, Syria, Iran, Crimea, and one other one I can't remember. And Guatemala, because Guatemala doesn't have a postal service. So if your country has a postal service and it has Visa or MasterCard, you can use this card. And this is the case if you're an American citizen. So if you're in the United States, you can apply for this card. You need to go through the KYC and apply for it. You need MineXcoin to pay for the card fee. Different card fees, you have different fees and perks and benefits. And then it ties in with the parking, which is what I do. So parking is like staking, except that no transactions are being verified. So if I want to stake some coins, I hold them in my wallet, and sometimes I have to keep the wallet open, and I get, on average about 5% a year drops into my wallet. Parking is different. I hold the coins in my wallet. I have the private keys. I go to the MineXbank website and I register my wallet, the public address, on the MineXbank website. And I make a pledge that I will keep the coins in my wallet for a certain period. I'll keep them, say, for a day or a week or a month or a quarter or 6 months or a year. And depending upon how long I hold them in my wallet, I will receive an interest payout. Now, currently they're paying out 0.19% a day. I'm parking quarterly, and they're currently paying 27.6%. Now, where the parking comes from, where the bank gets the fee from the parking, to pay the parking, is from mining transactions. This is a proof of work coin. So every transaction, the miner gets a fee. Some of that fee goes to the MineXbank, which the MineXbank then uses to pay the parking interest. So I've been compounding and compounding and compounding and compounding with a view that once the cards come out, and they're going to start delivering them in the next few weeks or so, I'll be able to use my parking income to fund my, to pay for my card expenses, which, fingers crossed, will be enough to pay for all my living expenses.
All right. So, I mean, this is just something that I actually haven't, I did buy a little bit of Minex. I haven't bought too much, but I thought it was...
Sorry, Amir, it's MineXcoin. There's another coin called Minex, which has nothing to do with MineXcoin. Okay,
sorry. So MineXcoin. I haven't gotten too deeply involved with them. I own a little bit. I'm waiting for the card to come out to get involved, but I do know that Boris is a straight up guy, so I thought that was definitely worth sharing. Mark, what about you? What's going on? What have you seen this last week that you want to talk about?
I think right now, a few minutes ago, we just hit 64.95 on BitMEX, which I think is very positive. If we get a move above 6,500, we could test 6750, 6800. Within the last week, the most interesting thing, though, was just how bearish the sentiment is. I was listening to the Tone Vay's podcast the other day, and, he had a co-host, and I mean, both of them are like 48.20. Oh, it's happening. It's coming. It's in the cards. And then once we get through that, oh, we're going to 3,000. And, I'm not bearish. I'm neutral here. I think Bitcoin is holding up very well considering what's going on in Ethereum. Ethereum right now, it's really just, there's no demand. Yeah. The ICO market, the fundraising is down. And then you can also look at what when Arthur Hayes listed Ethereum on BitMEX. It happened on August 2nd. Ethereum was trading just right at $400, and it's been relentless selling. People on BitMEX, you're not borrowing Ethereum. It is a naked short that you can just go short. I mean, there is a funding protocol, but the funding is very minimal, and the players are aggressively shorting Ethereum, and there's just no buyers. I talked to a few OTC desks, and they do borrowing and loaning of Bitcoin, Ethereum. But there's just, when Bitcoin gets down around these levels, there's always shorts they're always looking to cover. But there hasn't been the case with Ethereum. There is no demand. The shorts do not see a reason to cover. There was a paper out this week talking about all the ICOs that raised money with Ethereum last year and how much they're sitting on. I actually view that as somewhat bullish. I think the ICOs that were going to sell their Ethereum have already done so. I think the ICOs that are sitting on large amounts of Ethereum, they had done this late last year, in terms of raising in Ethereum. So I think they're sort of break even right now. And I don't think they're sweating it, to be honest with you. They have fiat. They also raised money in fiat, some in Bitcoin. So they're able to fund their development. And I just think the selling pressure is gonna let up here soon.
Yeah, I have to say, like, when you started out talking about sentiment, and you come from an equities background, you're a trader. I think the media is playing the sentiment card right now. And the bottom line is that Bitcoin has come down to this level 4 or 5 times, and it hasn't been able to break above it, and it hasn't been able to break below it. But at this point, I would say I'm starting to get quite bullish on Bitcoin, because it just doesn't seem to want to go any lower than the 63, 6,400. And I found it really, really kind of, it was really ironic. The day that they came out with the Goldman Sachs fake news about they're not going to start a Bitcoin trading desk, that was the day that Bitcoin was breaking out above 7,000. I remember that. And I was just like, wow, how coordinated is that? Like that day that fake news comes out, they hit it down $400 or $500, and that was the breakout day, basically. So it was just, to me, it was just like, this is all just a delay. I really don't see it going lower. As a miner, I can tell you that I think a lot of the mining companies, the big mining, the private mining companies, will just step in and buy at 5,700, because right around 5,500 is where their break even is on mining. So they'll just buy it. That's my perspective on price. What else you got, Mark?
I read there was a great joke, well, Twitter, that they were talking about. They said, basically, it said, piss off Crypto Hayes and he will list your shitcoin, in reference to what's happened to Ethereum. It's been absolutely brutal. I sympathize with the Ethereum holders. I think the next level that everyone is watching is 155. So far, I think the low yesterday was around 170. It held. Again, I think we're near a capitulation.
Yeah. Rich, what are some of the projects? I mean, we talked about this briefly with Mark last week. We said one of the threats to Ethereum is that there are other projects that can do the same thing that Ethereum does. So I'm thinking, what are some of the other projects that you know of that can basically mimic what Ethereum does?
Okay. Well, the one that I know about in particular, because I don't really focus on platform projects like protocols and stuff, right? But there's one in particular which I've covered quite a bit, and associated project is Komodo. I think Komodo is very underrated. I think also Skycoin as well. And both of them, certainly, and actually I know this about Komodo, is that you can have build projects, build platforms, build blockchains on them. Komodo is a privacy coin. It's resistant to 51% attacks. It has incredibly fast transaction speed. They've tested up to 46,000 transactions per second. There's no gas fees required for every single transaction. And you can have blockchains built on top of it. So BNTN, Equalizer, Chainzilla, Veriscoin, they all are built on top of the Komodo blockchain.
Yeah. And I know Chainzilla because we are going to have, who's that? Is that my phone? That's not my phone.
It's not my Skype. Somebody's Skype.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it was mine.
All right, that's okay. I know Chainzilla because we're at Elevate Group. We're using Chainzilla to create our blockchain on the NEM network, the NEM network. So I know that's a good example of how they're doing it, and we're using a contract. It's not such a smart contract. It's very simple and straightforward. I do still think that eventually, Ethereum's going to turn around just because it has its name. I think the other thing that I heard the other day was the profitability for Binance was now larger than NASDAQ. Did you hear that?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah, so I can't imagine what Wall Street is thinking when they say an exchange, a crypto exchange that's been around for less than 2-3 years is now more profitable than the NASDAQ exchange. I mean,
well, that's why you have the owner of the New York Stock Exchange and the Intercontinental Exchange. They're launching Backed. That will be live this year. So they see it and they're coming in. And going back to Goldman Sachs, they're working on a custody solution. Yeah. And that right now is more important than a crypto trading desk. I mean, there's liquidity. I mean, you want to sell 500, 1,000 Bitcoin, it's just 1 or 2 phone calls and you can do it seamlessly.
Yeah, custody is actually, Mark, that's actually a really big point. I know Etana Escrow or Etana Custody. I've worked with them. Brandon Russell is the CEO. He's super guy. And they are slammed, so busy because of all the demand that's coming to them now for them to perform custody services, because that's that kind of, any hedge fund or money manager or big money coming into crypto needs to solve that problem. They need to have a solid custody so that they can hold investors' money and keep that money secure. These are all the footsteps of big money coming into crypto. The question is, juxtapose that with the regulation, like with what the SEC is coming out and saying, and how to treat security tokens. I mean, there was an article the other day that came out and said that the SEC ruled that tokens can be treated as securities insofar as any kind of fraud or securities fraud, you can have a claim against the owners of the ICO. So it would be treated just like a security in case there's any mismanagement or fraud. My point is, I've kind of babbled that out, but my point is that in light of all this money that's getting ready to go into crypto, you have an uncertain regulatory framework, mostly in the United States. And I think the United States is, quite frankly, I think there's a lot of push and pull. The people who have the money want to jump in and create an ecosystem, and the regulators are, I don't know how to say it exactly, but maybe somewhat slightly uncertain about how to handle it.
The good news, I think, there's the regulators, the recent SEC commissioner that was just confirmed by the Senate. He is supposedly in favor of the Bitcoin ETF. So that would make two SEC commissioners that are crypto friendly. So that is very positive, and I think we'll get more clarity here in the next few months from the SEC in terms of the Bitcoin ETF and also ICO regulations.
And what do you think? Let's jump to the Winklevi. They just got approved. I don't know if you heard this, or I'm sure you've heard this. They have the Gemini dollar now. So it's a quote unquote stable coin. Every single, excuse me, sorry, I don't know if that's for me or not. Okay, sorry. Every single, and it's an ERC20 token, okay? So every Gemini dollar is backed by a US dollar, right? And they're going to have that all audited, all that stuff. Here's what I think about that. I thought, wow, how it's essentially like a dollar ETF for the crypto market. It definitely gives people a way to get into crypto. But here's the weird thing. Because it's pegged to the US dollar, if we get a serious movement into crypto and all of a sudden the dollar starts to lose value, or we get into a highly inflationary period, we could see where the Gemini dollar trades at a premium or a discount to the US dollar. In other words, it's like a mirror on the US dollar now. And the value of the US dollar can have a premium or a discount to it as compared to the crypto world. Does that make sense, Mark?
Right now, the Gemini, it's only going to be on the Gemini exchange. So it's a step in the right direction, but again, we're not going to see this Gemini coin widespread adoption just yet.
Right. I wonder because look, why wouldn't somebody that wants to get involved in crypto? They're running a hedge fund in New York. They're not really involved. They know about the Gemini dollar. They want exposure, so they say, okay, great, we'll get onto the exchange and we'll buy some Gemini dollar, and now they have exposure to crypto. It's not, I mean, I could imagine a lot of firms getting their toes wet with something like that.
Well, it certainly helps in the sense that it's passed the regulations, and they're approved by the New York State, which is a very strong crypto regulator.
Yeah.
And so the Winklevoss, they did it properly in getting the coin registered. And now let's see what kind of adoption it takes place.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And you just said the word adoption, which is the most important thing for all of crypto. We got to look at the fact that we're still such a small percentage of the market. I mean, we're still, I think, 1/5 the size of the gold market, and the gold market is a tiny market compared to, all the equities, and not even, needless to say, the bond market or anything like that. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how the next few months develops. In terms of price, I think, Mark, your price analysis is right on. The question is, are we going to break out above 7,000, and is that going to signal the bull run?
What I'm looking at is 7,800 to 8,000. We break out above 8,000. That confirms to me the low is in, and we're going to get a quick move to 10,000. Yeah,
exactly. All right, well, good. I mean, in honor.
Amir, Mark, sorry, do you mind if I ask Mark a few questions?
Yeah, we just have to keep it like 7 minutes, because it's automatically going to take us, or 5 minutes.
Mark, I didn't know that Ethereum could be naked shorted. And for those that don't know, that means that you can actually sell the asset without owning the asset. Because I know that
Correct.
goes on with gold and silver, right? So I'm horrified to learn that it goes on with Ethereum, right? And then the other thing I wanted to ask you is that, so are you saying you don't see Bitcoin going down below 5,800?
Right now, I do not. We've bounced up here. We're testing 6,500. But let me tell you, if we break the 5,800, 5,740. We will go down to 5,000 at 4,820 and test that. What worries me is that if we do break that, where's Ethereum? It's under $100 if that happens. Wow. I mean, seriously, this is the shit is really going to hit the fan.
Yeah. I got one more thing, Mark. One more thing.
Thank you.
One more thing that we have to point out. Bitcoin dominance is now showing itself, because the correlation between Bitcoin and Ethereum has become much less so. And a lot of people are pointing out that, okay, now we're getting Bitcoin dominance, basically. And I think that's an important thing to look at in terms of price action.
For me, I understand and I support the Bitcoin dominance. The few times that I have transferred Ether, it took forever. And you have to decide, well, what's your gas level? How much are you willing to pay? To me, it was slow and clunky, and it was, in general, not a great experience.
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of companies come out to compete against Ethereum.
Well, we have EOS and some Cardano, and of course Komodo.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, by the way, I've been kind of smoking this little jewel here, which is in honor of our friend at Tesla. It's not weed. Just in case you saw smoke coming out of my mouth, I want to clarify that disclosure. But I think
the FDA is ready to crack down on Juul. They give 60 days saying that the kids are smoking it.
It's horrible, but I have to say one good thing. I have quit cigarettes because of it, and and now I'm getting ready to quit the Juul. But it definitely helped me get away from the cigarettes.
Well, one last thing, Crypto Rich. I have to ask, how did you get that name? That is by far the best name in crypto. Crypto Rich.
When I started off, I didn't want to show my face. I didn't want to say my name. I used to be a child protection social worker. I used to remove children from families, right? So it's not very popular among the families I encountered. And I have been found on social media by families that I've worked in. So I keep a very low profile on social media. So that was one reason for the anonymity. And then I thought, well, how's somebody going to find me? Well, people want to get rich with crypto, or people want to get rich. You Google, how can I get rich? Or how can I get rich with crypto? It kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah. I love the name, Crypto Rich.
Yeah, and I was early enough that to bag hold of that one. I mean, some of the names that are coming out right now, very little to do with making money. So I'm all about getting rich with crypto, not investment advice. Do your own due diligence.
Yeah, exactly.